And welcome to Hannity. Tonight we have a jam-packed show. It's the return of Dick Morris tonight. Also, Sarah Palin right here in studio, plus Joe Namath and Lou Holtz. They're here. They're going to weigh in on the NFL bullying controversy. But first, President Obama has proved time and time again during the course of his time in office he knows how to apologize for America. He just does not know how to apologize for his own mistakes. For example, when presented with the opportunity to own up to his own lies about Obamacare, that if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Well, this is what he said.
Do you feel like you owe these folks an apology for misleading them, even if you didn't intentionally do it? But at this point, they feel misled, and you've seen the anger that's out there.
You know, I regret very much that what we intended to do, which is to make sure that everybody is moving into better plans because they want them, as opposed to because they're forced into it, that, you know, we weren't as clear as we needed to be in terms of the changes that were taking place. Even though it's a small percentage of folks who may be disadvantaged, you know, it means a lot to them, and it's scary to them. And I am sorry that they, you know, are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me.
It is not a small percentage. Now, they knew back in July of 2010 that millions and millions of Americans would lose their plan and lose their doctor, but they didn't tell you the truth. You know, a simple yes, I'm sorry, it's not that hard. And here's the evidence to prove that President Obama should man up and own up to what he said. Remember, this is what he told you.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
Period. Well, once that proved to be 100% not true, then President Obama tweaked his stance, and then he said this.
If you have or had one of these plans before the Affordable Care Act came into law, and you really liked that plan, what we said was you could keep it if it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
Now, there were no ifs, ands, buts, or caveats. Again, nice try, but the American people are smart enough to see through this liberal spin, these lies, and unfortunately, there's much more. President Obama, in trying to defend the indefensible, well, then he stepped in it some more and he said this.
We're talking about 5% of the population who are in what's called the individual market. They're out there buying health insurance on their own. Even though it only affects a small amount of the population, you know, it means a lot to them, obviously, when they get this letter canceled.
Now, I'm not sure where the administration dug that number up from, which, by the way, is being regurgitated by their friends in the liberal media. Now, we on this program, we had a reputable Duke University research scholar on Hannity in our Dr. Summit show this Friday, and he actually told the truth and said this.
I calculated all the people that are going to not be able to stay in their plans, both in the individual market, which everyone is talking about, but also in the employer market. Many people are going to lose their plans. I estimate 18 to 50 million will literally lose their plans and have to start from scratch.
By what point will 129 million Americans lose their health insurance that they like? If you like it, you can keep it.
Well, I'm estimating by the end of 2014.
So a year from now, we'll be close to the 129 million Americans that are going to be losing their health care.
Well, keep in mind, 18 to 50 totally lose their plan, and then they have to buy a new plan. The rest are paying more for whatever coverage they have in order to add on the bells and whistles that Obamacare required.
So if you like your plan, you can't keep your plan. And if you like your plan, you're going to pay a lot more for the new plan that they think is better because they know best for you. So will the president ever be held accountable for a long series of lies? Joining me now with reaction, former Clinton advisor, host of WPHT, 1210 AM in Philly, Dick Morris is back. How are you? You've been in exile.
Hey, good to see you, Sean. Good to see you.
You know, I know you took a lot of heat because of your prediction in the last election. Before we get into your analysis here, what is your answer to those people that said, oh, Dick Morris was wrong, he's so wrong, and you angered a lot of people? It's been a while since we had you on.
Well, I was wrong, but so was Gallup, so was Rasmussen, so was CNN, so were about half to two-thirds of the pollsters in the country. I think the reason that they were wrong, and when I looked at their number, I was wrong, is that we did not take account of the period around Sandy, right before the election, when about a quarter of America didn't have telephones, and you couldn't poll them, and there were no polling data in that period. And the exit polls on election day showed that about 1 out of 6 Americans made their mind up at the very end, and they voted for Obama by over 2 to 1.
You know, when you work for Bill Clinton and they tried to push out Hillary Care, their numbers cratered. And you were brought in to do some polling. At that point, you were brought in after Lewinsky, and his poll numbers stayed high even when the president lied during Lewinsky. Do you see any analogies here for this president when now we know it's provable that he lied and planned on it and covered it up for 3 years?
Well, the reason Clinton's numbers stayed high is that he'd moved to the center and he was articulating policies most Americans supported. Obama's chosen to move way to the left. And you can't compare Clinton's lie, which was about a personal matter, with Obama's lie about insurance. But you know, Sean, I realize this is just a grammatical quibble. He said you can keep your health insurance, period. If he'd said question mark, hey, that's fine.
Yeah, well, okay. Let me play Wasserman Schultz, because she's actually claiming this is going to help Democrats.
It's a transition thing, not a cancellation.
Okay, I got you. Well, let's play Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
If you look at this through the prism of 2014, you don't think that Obamacare will weigh heavily on Democratic elections?
I think Obamacare, because Americans have been feeling the benefits since 2010, where young adults can stay on their parents' insurance until they're 26, where on January 1st, if you have a pre-existing condition, like I do, as you know, as a breast cancer survivor, the peace of mind that those Americans are going to have, knowing that they can never be dropped or denied coverage for that pre-existing condition, the preventative care that's available without a copay or a deductible, those are benefits that Americans have already been feeling and will increasingly feel is fully implemented. So I think actually, Candy, that Democratic candidates will be able to run on Obamacare as an advantage.
If millions of Americans get these cancellation letters, and they are, and millions of Americans see this rate shock, the rate hike shock, what is the impact going to be in 2014? Is it what Debbie Wasserman Schultz says?
It'll be a total wipeout. The Republicans will gain enormously. Look, Obama has this problem. I don't believe the Democratic Party can permit him to bring them into the next election in 14 with 50 million people losing their coverage and another 80 million seeing their premiums jacked way up. I just don't think they can do that. The problem is that if Obama rescinds the cancellations, which he could do by executive order, because the statute doesn't require them, his regulations do, then nobody's going to sign up for this turkey, and he'll be embarrassed by the low turnout.
Yeah.
Did you see, Sean, that Reuters reports that the 12 state exchanges have had a total of 50,000 signups? And if experience is any guide, 40 of them are probably Medicaid. So if you have a quarter of the country with 10,000 signups, you're talking about 40,000 in the whole country after a month and a half of this turkey being out there. The only way he can generate enrollments is to throw people off their health insurance, and then they have no alternative but to come into the exchanges.
All right, Dick, welcome back. It's been a while. Appreciate you being with us, and welcome to the world of talk radio. And it's an easy job. Everyone says it's easy. Is it easy?
Well, but it's wonderful because I have 3 hours to opine.
For people that like to talk like us, I guess that's a perfect job. All right, Dick, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Now, coming up tonight, we examine the biggest lies in the history of American politics. That's coming up next. And we'll ask if President Obama's broken promise measures up to the most historic tall tales of them all. Then later, in studio, former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin is here. She'll explain if she thinks that New Jersey Governor Chris Christie can win over conservatives. Also